The Chiefs are going to go to halftime, content being down by 7 as they run out the clock. Gives us a chance to step aside once again. Another edition of One-on-One. Eric Winston with Dan Pastorini, legendary Oilers quarterback and author of a new book on taking Flak, Life in the Fast Lane. As Dan Pastorini and Eric sit down, let's check out a video that tells the story of how Dan made the flak jacket an essential piece of equipment for NFL quarterbacks.
The #9 gutsiest performance of all time. Dan Pastorini plays with cracked ribs.
Who was the first person who looked at a cow? Said, you know what, I'm going to pull on those things, and whatever comes out, I'm going to drink it.
Don't try this at home now.
To be the first to do anything takes unbelievable stones.
Dan Pastorini knows what being a pioneer is all about. In 1978, he became the first player in history to wear a flak jacket. It helped him turn in our #9 gutsiest performance, and then it became a standard piece of quarterback equipment.
You can see underneath the jerseys, they all wear them.
He wears a flak jacket so he doesn't get killed.
Protects their ribs, their sternum, and they still have full motion. Now, quarterback would just as soon go without his jock as he would his flak jacket.
I will call Dan Pastorini gutsy.
If you just joined us, Dan Pastorini out of the ball game.
He broke 3 ribs in this one game, and he was in the hospital.
And everybody's going, whoa, my goodness, what are we going to do?
Into his hospital room come these 2 guys he has never seen before. One guy is carrying a paper bag, and the other guy is carrying a baseball bat.
And Dan's like, oh my God, this is some guy's coming to beat me to death.
But the gentleman says, don't be alarmed, reaches in the paper bag, says, I think I have something here that can protect your ribs. He puts on the flak jacket, and his friend takes the baseball bat and starts clubbing away at the flak jacket.
After several licks, I think Pastorini was sold. This thing was going to hold up to the scrutiny of a 275-pound defensive lineman.
And that's how the flak jacket was invented by Byron Donzis.
Pastorini is one of the most courageous players that ever played in the league, but nobody really talks about it because he never really let on.
You know, the little nicks and bruises don't hurt when it counts.
Fans in Houston never appreciated him until '78. When you got an injury like cracked ribs, you can hardly breathe. Pastorini played.
Dan Pastorini is a tough individual. He knows he's going to take some licks. And brother, there it is, the right rib.
And that lifted the team.
He's playing this well hurt. Umphillips may decide next year to make sure he's hurt before every ball game.
Behind Pastorini, the upstart Oilers advanced all the way to the AFC title game.
Touchdown, Houston Oilers.
He earned a lot of admiration.
Everybody in this room deserves a game ball. I don't believe anybody deserves one more than #7. Yeah.
There he is, Dan Pastorini. Thanks for going on one-on-one with me. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now we'll get to the book, Taking Flak, Life in the Fast Lane, but a little bit. But we want to start right at the beginning. You're a California boy.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that about you. It seems like Houston's grown on you a lot.
It has. You know, I grew up in a small town called Sonora, California. Went to school at Santa Clara University, and then came down here in 1971 when I was about 22 years old, and you know, had quite an experience, and just always gravitated back to Houston, and kind of lived in California for a while, and then Colorado for a while, but always came back to Houston.
What was the University of Santa Clara like?
You know, it was a Jesuit college. It was a small college of about 5,000 undergraduate and about 3,000 postgraduate. We had, like, I guess you'd call it a Division II or 3 or 4 football team program there. But our baseball and our basketball teams were, you know, always into like a Division I level. But the football program was just started up by Pat Malley back in the mid-'60s, early '60s. And then they've since dropped it about 10 or 15 years ago.
Now, were you not a big high school recruit, or why did you go there?
Actually, I was recruited pretty highly by most of the colleges. My brother played at Santa Clara, and I got to know Pat Malley through my brother, and I always admired him. He was kind of what I call a transformational coach, where he was more concerned about developing men and players as opposed to winning football games. Winning was important, but he wanted to win in life and made you earn whatever you got.
So Santa Clara, then, you know, obviously the NFL scouts, you couldn't dodge them either. They first round pick 1975 of the Houston Oilers. What was that like?
Yeah, it was pretty.
75 or
71.
71.
It was pretty shocking to me, really, because I was injured a lot in college. I I broke my ankle my sophomore year, which kept me out most of the season, and then my junior year, I tore my medial collateral ligament against Villanova the third game, missed most of the season. Same thing happened in my senior year. But I was fortunate enough to be selected to play in the East-West Shrine game in the Senior Bowl. And, you know, I'd been scouted pretty heavily by a lot of scouts, and King Hill was a scout back then and discovered me. And I think playing in with the bigger competition, as they called it, and having good games in those all-star games vaulted my stock up a little bit and made me #1 draft choice.
So you come to Houston, 1971. What was your first impressions, I guess, of the city?
Well, you know, being from a town of 1,300 people, and you're coming to a you know, city that at the time I think they had less than 1 million people.
Really?
But when I got here, it seemed like everybody knew me, and that was kind of shocking. And I was always kind of believe it or not, I was kind of a shy, introverted type of guy. And you know, it was kind of mind-boggling at first, but it kind of got fun after that, because the city was a growing city back then. It was a boom town. Oil and gas was the king here, and guys were, you know, young people were making money hand over fist, and you know, we were kind of a blue-collar team, and a lot of the town people identified with us, and that was kind of fun. You know, we really enjoyed the people, and I think the people enjoyed us as well.
Now, what was it like, I guess, your first, I know my NFL experience, it was much more freedom than, you know, in college.
Yeah.
Much more just ability to do whatever, especially in the off season. You know, and I know in your day, people went and got jobs, and you know, you showed up at camp, and it was good to see everybody again. You know, 5 months later or whatever. But I guess, what was that transition as far as just as a person? You know, you said you're more of an introverted guy.
Yeah.
That's not what a lot of people remember you as.
Yeah, I know. Well,
when did that introvert become more of an extrovert?
I developed in getting my moral compass askewed later on.
So the Jesuits
in my career.
didn't have
the
quite
Jesuits,
the
you know,
lasting effect that they hoped.
I stopped with the Jesuit thinking right off. But no, it became a lot of fun. You know, it was the '70s. You know, it was kind of a wide open time back then, and people, you know, were kind of free spirited. I was a free spirit type of person, and you know, I was, you know, as long as I did my job, I felt I could do what I wanted to do. And you know, I may have abused it a little bit, maybe overstepped a few boundaries now and then, but you know, that was the sign of the times back then.
I didn't know where they are if you don't overstep them. Right?
That's true. So I didn't have any boundaries.
So, you know, you had a lot of good years with the Oilers. You know, obviously '75, I believe it was. That's what I was thinking. You went to your Pro Bowl.
Yeah, '75 was the first Pro Bowl. I went through some very tough years. The first 4 years here were real tough. 1972 and '73, we had back-to-back 1-13 seasons, and then in 1978 and '79, you know, in '75 we started turning things around, and we started winning a lot more. In fact, I think we went 10-4, and we didn't. We finished third in our division, and we didn't even go to the playoffs that year. And then in '78 and '79, we went to the playoffs, to the championship game against Pittsburgh in both years, and unfortunately lost to them. First year in '78, we got blown out pretty good.
And '78 was your best year, like statistically wise.
Statistically, yeah, maybe so, but that doesn't matter to me. Whatever, wins were more important, and I didn't care about, you know, the stats. I cared about the winning.
So you have your career. You finished up. You ended up getting traded then, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a foolish thing on my part, really. I went through a contract dispute with Bud Adams, and I just recently signed a contract, but I was taking care of my parents, and I didn't take that into consideration, and I deferred most of my pay because I wanted to have something in the future. I didn't want to just take the money and, you know, spend it and whatnot. So it was a tough time, and I needed to take care of my parents. And, you know, I asked him if he'd just give me some of that deferred compensation up front instead of defer, and he wouldn't do it, which kind of angered me a bit, and was a little bit of a hothead back then. And I kind of went to Bum, and, you know, Bum was going to give it to me out of his pocket. And I said, no, I said, this is business. And I said, I can't believe that. And I said, you know, why don't you think about trading me? And he said, look, he said, I'm not going to trade you. He said, we got a good thing going here. If you still feel the same way next year, I'll trade you anywhere you want to go. And I said, all right, fair enough. So we went through the '79 season. We went to the championship game again, and here we lost against Pittsburgh. And, you know, I'm sitting there on the plane, and I see him get up in the front of the plane, and this is kind of covered in the book too. But he walks back, and he said, well, you're a man of your word. You did everything I asked you to do. You still want to be traded? And I said, yeah. You know, maybe it's best for everybody. You know, me and the team and everybody else, because I was under a lot of flack ridicule, and I felt if I really was the problem, then get rid of me and give somebody else another shot. So he traded me to Oakland, which wound up being the kind of the end of my career.
And the Oilers really didn't do well after they left.
Yeah, but either. I don't know. It was a big mistake.
Well, it was for both sides, though. For both sides. I mean, obviously, you weren't the same player in Oakland.
Right.
The team wasn't the same.
Well, I broke my leg in Oakland.
Sure.
And people were always kind of complimenting me on playing hurt. I didn't play hurt because I was tough. I played hurt because I was afraid of losing my job.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how that is.
That's how.
And which was example in Oakland when I broke my leg. Plunkett took over. We go to the Super Bowl, and the rest is history for me.
Now, so after football, obviously, what we're talking about, the adrenaline, the need for competition with all of us, you become a drag racer. I
have always been a big motorhead. I mean, when I was, graduated high school, my dad bought me a 1967 Chevelle SS 396. I used to run at Fremont drag strips every Wednesday and Saturday nights and grudge matches, and that's kind of how I made some walking around money. And I just always loved the dragsters. And then got into Top Fuel, and it was a tough road, but a lot of work. Had one win. Had a couple of final round appearances, but finished 7th in points in 85 and 86. 86 I had my first win or actually 86 and 87. 86 I had my first win at Columbus, Georgia, and won the Southern Nationals. And that was a big deal.
That's a big one.
That was right on the verge of getting out because we were broke. And my friend Larry Enderle here in Baytown, Texas, he said, "I got a good feeling." He said, "Here, take this money and go race." And he said, "I think things are going to happen for you." And wound up winning that race, and we got Coors sponsorship for the next 3 years, and that kind of pushed us over the hump. But it still wasn't enough money to really be competitive.
Yeah. So after the drag racing, obviously you said you moved around a little bit, but you've always been back here.
Yeah.
What do you do now? I know you obviously wrote the book.
Right.
We'll get to that still a little bit too, but you've got a rub. You're a great cook, right?
Well, I grew up in the restaurant business. My parents had a restaurant for 37 years, and I'd been around it, all my life. And the rub was really developed between a friend of mine and I who had another restaurant. And, we had a little friendly competition at a charity we used to do. And we kind of mixed our spices together and came up with this, and we said, that's pretty good. All our friends tried it, and they said, it is good. And we didn't know if they were telling us that to not hurt our feelings or if they were being honest. So we've been marketing this for the past 8 months. And in the meantime, I got together with John Lopez. He said, "How come you haven't written a book yet?" And I said, "Well, you want to?" And so we did. And, about 6 months later, the book came out, and we just got it.
So let's get to the book. What was that process like? I always imagine, people, I wrote a book and I did this, but I don't think people realize, how exactly the quote-unquote sausage is made. What was that experience like? How tedious, how painstaking was it?
It really wasn't tedious. It was really kind of cathartic, and I use that word a little bit too much, but it really was kind of cleansing for me. I told John, don't ask me anything you don't want to know the truth to, because I'm going to be blatantly honest. And I used the phrase, I did inhale and I did have sex with those women. I'm not going to deny it. So, we got down deep, and it was kind of nerve-wracking. When it first came out, I had kind of second thoughts about it. But the reception we've got with it and the reviews we've gotten so far, I'm really proud of it. And, it was tough to do. There's some very painful things that, I had to go back to. There's some fun things that I went back to. And, there's just some truths, and some facts and problems that I had and demons that I had to exercise.
So you feel like, though, that was something that, are you glad, I guess, in the sense of you feel like you kind of, I wouldn't say accomplished everything in your life, but is this something that kind of say, okay, this is something that it's nice to have this. It's nice to have this kind of as a, not a memoir, so to speak, but some sort of record of, hey, this is what happened.
This is what happened. This is what I am. But the nice part about it is, I've had people contact me on Facebook and thank me for being so honest, and realizing, or them not realizing, that they had problems themselves with drinking and drugs, and they kind of said, I'm going to change my life because of your book. And those
are all things that you've beat personally.
Exactly,
yourself.
Exactly. And that's what makes me the most proud of the book, is when you get people like that maybe will exercise their problems.
5 years, where you at?
5 years from now?
5 years from now,
oh
where you
boy,
at?
Hopefully got a real good spice business going, sausage business, and happy. I'm happy now. I can't be any happier. Got a great lady.
Is there anything that you haven't done that you want to
bucket list thing
that you want to do?
Not
go to the World Series, but you know what I mean. Like, is this spice business? Is this something that's the kind of the making this into a successful enterprise? Well, is that something that kind of will top everything off, or is there still something out there that you say, you know what, I need to try to make a run at that at some point?
No, I'm a Gemini. If I ever get a chance to go back racing again, I'll probably do racing. But and if this is ever successful, I'll probably get in a race car again. But no, that's my real passion. But I'm really enjoying myself because I work for a couple companies down here. I work for Insperity doing some new business development, marketing, and public relations for them. Also with YEP Energy, and I've got some good relationships, business relationships going, and I want to kind of enhance those and make sure that 5 years from now they're happy and I'm happy.
The book is Taking Flak: My Life in the Fast Lane. Dan Pastorini, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Eric. Pleasure.
Let's check out a little bit of that drag racing out.
There you go.
We're glad you're aboard with us, though. You see the front wheel of snow inching into that beam. Now, Pastorini's. This is the final race of the NHRA Southern National. They are off right together, head-to-head. Gene Snow, Dan Pastorini. Who is going to win it? Dan Pastorini's first ever Top Fuel victory. And back at the starting line, an ecstatic crew. Donnie Couch, the man who performed some miracles for Dan. In the middle there, Sid Waterman, who handled the fuel injection in the supercharger. I'll tell you what, you think they're happy. I guarantee you that's going to be one thrilled man when he gets out of the car, Brock.
Absolutely right. Snow had a little bit better reaction time, not by much, but from there on in, it was Dan Pastorini driving like a veteran, straight as an arrow, down the racetrack, a 5:56 to Gene Snow's losing 5:64. Didn't win it by much, a full car length, but that's all he needed for his first ever victory.
The teacher and the pupil meet at the far end of the racetrack, but Dan Pastorini today proved he's very much the quick learner. He served notice at the Gator Nationals a few weeks ago, getting to the semifinals, ultimately beaten by Don Garlitz. But today, it was your day, my friend.
I'm telling you, I'm so excited. This is better than winning any Super Bowl. It's better than any experience I've ever had in my life. I'd just like to thank all the people that have helped us out this weekend. I'd like to thank Larry and Glenda Enderle for helping us out financially. John Wallace with the truck registrations, Kendall Oil, my crew chief, Donnie Couch did a wonderful job. I'm just so happy. I don't know what to say.
Now, that sounds like a lot of sponsors, but you and I both know this is a lean, mean operation.
They just help us out, and they've kept us alive, and I'm very appreciative of it.
5:56.
How about that? How about that?
Track a lot better than anybody thought it'd be.
It was a lot better. The heat helped a lot. I think the rain last night kind of washed everything off. The car's going down earlier in the day, and the sunshine just gave it a little bit of sticky that we need. So we got it. How about that?
Touchdown.
You betcha.
Dan Pastorini, back in the day after his football career as a drag racer. What a great life! What a great thrill seeker it's been for you. I don't want to act like you're you're dead or anything.
Like your dad, I'm like, wow, is he not going to be here for the rest of the show?
There aren't many sports more dangerous than football, and I think drag racing is one of the few.
You're right. They said that at one time, I think the most dangerous sport was number 3 was being a quarterback in the NFL, and number 5 was being a race car driver. But that's not really why I did it. I mean, I played baseball too, but you can get hurt in baseball too.
You were drafted, right, as a baseball player too?
Yeah, but we won't go.
You ever give any serious thought to playing ball?
I did after 1973 here. I really thought about calling the Mets up and saying, hey, is that offer still standing?
I think I could do that now, right?
Yeah, I think I'd like that. This football's not working out. I'm glad I stuck with it, though.
Yeah, I'd say you did all right for yourself.
Made some great friends and got a great city.
And again, to get the book, people can go to, it's at www.taking-flak.com.
You got it right there, taking-flak.com. Say that 3 times.